The most important thing is that weight as a physical thing. It involves hormones, endocrine system. If it's connected to mental health to that degree, it's already out of scope if there is something deep clinical going on. Then nutrition is also out of scope. Fitness is also out of scope. Unless they coming from a specialist with a specific request. Help me stop craving sugar. Help me get motivated and stick to my fitness routine. With regimen or special nutrition adjustments, they already have a plan from a specialist. We can support it. What I wanted to address is what outside of it. Messing with the weight itself is very dangerous because whatever shape our body is in, this is created for you to survive in the situation you're in right now, to deal with your life. If we're messing with this, we are suppressing the survival mechanism. We're fighting it. Body struggling to survive, and we're harming it. Let's pay attention to the environment, situation, or your behavior that creates that what is body struggle with. What your body created, like put on more weight or the opposite, shed weight, in response to what? And this is within our scope. This is what we're good at with hypnosis. We can investigate now. Why don't you want to be in a healthy weight? Are you trying to diminish yourself in size and hide away? Are you checking out from life? Is this your way to check out? Or the opposite, you're putting on too much weight? What are you dealing? Who are you feeding? Like what toxic people, parasites surround you that eat you all the time? Or who are you physically protecting yourself from? Or what are you protecting yourself from? Or what are you worried about that you won't be able to handle, like financial troubles, that you need to reserve everything you have, all your resources? This is our work. Underweight usually, or hiding, trying to become unnoticeable, trying to avoid drawing attention, and literally checking out from life. Not always at the same time, but easily can be too. And more of it is anxiety about future, not having enough resources, physical barrier in abusive relationships, or people that were maybe abused physically or even raped. I'm maybe protecting myself, but I also maybe on purpose making myself not as attractive as I could be, so I don't get this attention. Portion control is, unless it's, calculated, there was blood work, they work with nutrition, this is very dangerous because what's going on with our health? Like with premenopausal and menopausal women, there is so many hormonal changes and ovaries are not producing as much estrogen. Fat tissue increases and takes place of ovaries. Fat tissues produce estrogen. Estrogen is necessary. Now you can observe all the women of that age who you're surrounded. Health-wise, those that are slimmer have much harder time going through menopause, and they don't look as good. Skin loses elasticity because there's not enough estrogen now. Mentally, they don't feel as good. They usually experience anxiety. They have horrible hot flashes. So imagine here's a change, body's adapting. And if we restrict diet, now we can create all sorts of health problems. All sorts. That's why it's so tricky and should be left to specialists. It's not that straightforward. If you want to slim down, just eat less. And the same with underweight. It's again not as straightforward. If you want to put on weight, just eat more. It doesn't work if it might not be able to even digest it. But here too, parts therapy can be useful. That part of you that believes that it's better, safer for you to be in that weight category. What do you do? What for? What are you protecting my client from? Why do you do this? What is the threat? Once you figure out that, now you can very strategically address it with a regular hypnotherapy session. I would start working on developing your protocols, your programs.
So if the client, for example, is feeling empty and is resorting to food to fulfill or quench that emptiness, you do a hypnosis to use your NLP, and then do you embed other things for the brain to take action once they have that awareness that that emptiness is what's taking you to go eat?
This is how I usually do with clients that come to me in person. I explain, this is from Vedic scriptures, and when I do my Tantra courses, it's all included there. In Sanskrit, there is a word, it's called Amrita, which translates as sugar, sweetness, not just sugar, sweetness of life. When that is missing, this is, well, first thing, easily available to us, food. Temporary, maybe you fulfilled, replace that sweetness of life with food, and then you figured out better ways to live. That's fine, but some never do. They just eat more and more and more, and then food doesn't cut. Alcohol next, concentrated form of sugar, that's sweetness. Some men skip the food altogether and go to alcohol. And then alcohol doesn't fix it either. Some go farther, drugs. What are the healthier ways to acquire that sweetness of life? Relationships, number one. Intimate partners and all other relationships, friendships, family, children, parents, siblings. Those are healthy connections through which you can acquire that sweet taste of life. All addictions, actually, not just food, but everything else. It's a built-in connection. Imagine you are one cell in this world, this universe, and you have every human being needs those connections. But depending on your choice or circumstances, you might build healthy connections. Other humans, family, friends, co-workers, your career, that you must enjoy, actually, your hobbies, all the things that you love to do, gardening, singing, painting, crafting, a knowledge that you're hungry for, another healthy connection, nature, another healthy connection. But if you don't have all those in place, you may accidentally get connected to wrong stuff. Smoking, sugar, alcohol, drugs, gambling, porn.
So the question then would be, is emptiness always from a lack of connection?
From not getting that joy, that sweetness
From
of
not
life. So, and then I would ask client, what is missing? What is missing from your life? And they'll tell you everything. And usually, well, not everything is the same, but on average, there is no intimate partner. For women, it's like number one. Or she's married, but sometimes it's worse than not being married. Or maybe people are not very sociable. They unable to build friendships. Maybe there is an issue with mom or dad, often to happen. The person might be 70 years old. The mom and dad already gone a long time ago. They still hung up. This little child starts speaking. She never gave me enough attention. She was cold. So then obviously you have to fix that. Generalize that part. If you're gonna do pre-recorded inner child healing, Like we do journey backwards in time to when you were a child, and then rewriting this scenario. You want to be using language as vague as possible if you're going to be pre-recorded, to give their subconscious mind space to apply whatever they hear in a way they need it. Of course, when you're working privately, you can cater to whatever specific words come out from their mouths when you're talking to them before hypnosis. But for pre-recorded, it's not possible. That's the beauty of it. Then you can address every possible issue with generalized recordings. If a person comes for an hour to you, you can only do one hypnosis session here. In a pre-recorded, you can put 10. And you don't have to create all of them in one day. Aha, now I see something new. Whatever client brought to you. And you can add another session with addressing that specific issue. Then up gradually. So with feeding the emptiness, I ask them, what's missing? They'll tell you. Or they bored, excitement missing. Or everything is so good and so comfortable in life. They don't see any way to improve it. They don't know where to go next. Around 45, 50, some people reach that point. I don't know what to do now. Everything's fine. Kids grown up healthy. I have roof. I've paid off all my debt. I'm doing the same thing over and over. I can do my job with closed eyes. What's next? Where's the challenge? You can help them find that challenge. That's homework for them. How can you find that sweetness? And you give them few areas to reflect on. What are your relationships? Do you need to build stronger bonds? Do you need to make new friends? Or do you need to find a new partner? Or you need to resolve those issues if your mom is still alive, or siblings? Do you have anything that actually brings you joy? And you teach them to find the joy in whatever's available already. Because usually people say, I'm going to be happy when I go on vacation. You go on vacation once, maybe twice per year. What do you do with the rest of the days? Or I'm going to be happy when I get married. What if you'll never get married? You're never planning to be happy? Or I'm going to be happy when I get that diploma. No, if you cannot be happy right now, with whatever's available to you, you will not be happy when you reach those things. It's just like building that skill. Baby doesn't start just walking the first crawl, and they take one step at a time at first. The same here. If I cannot be happy with having a nice cup of tea and enjoying that aroma, that flavor, the texture, I will not know how to be happy when I get married, or when I get diploma, or whatever else. I don't have that skill. You don't start building that skill from big things, from little things. That presence needed. Ability to be present in every moment and be aware of what's happening. Shower. What's your soap smells like? What's that soapy foam? How silky it feels like against your skin? How's the temperature of the water feels like when it's washing over you? Then you have a breakfast, the same thing. Only breakfast exists at this moment. Your mind does not go anywhere else. You're fully present. What does it look like? The colors, the texture, the aromas. Then you take one bite. This bite, only thing exists at this moment. Nothing else matters. The temperature, the flavor. What does it feel like? When you swallow, how does it feel like? If you're really present, you feel when the food lands in your stomach, you feel it. And then when you learn to be present and really appreciate what's happening, every experience in life becomes ecstatic. And when you're busy appreciating those little things, you don't need to be shoving into your mouth things that don't belong there. That's how I do that. Yeah, and while we're talking, they usually would have few aha moments. In pre-recorded session, you can include that coaching session. How do you address that? And then you can do separate session just for that. Being present and appreciating the little things that already under your nose. Or you can just embed it into bigger session. And then magically, your eyes always seeing the most beautiful things around you. You're fully present in whatever experience you're having at any moment. It could be as simple as taking shower, washing hands, or enjoying a cup of coffee, or as complicated as having interaction with another human being. And whatever you're doing, that's the only thing that exists at the moment. If you're talking to someone, there is no one else exists at this moment. Just that person. And this is how you get to know them. This is how you build strong bond. This is how you can appreciate fully beautiful things they have to share with you. So you can embed just a couple of sentences into another session that has nothing to do with this. That emptiness, that void, we can apply it to anything else, to any other addiction. Smoking. Why do you smoke? What are you replacing? What are you feeling with this? Or alcohol. Or gambling. What are you replacing? What is missing from your life?
You know me, I start to spiral in questions and things and thinking with the inner child hypnosis, you can embed in there as well.
You can embed it when you're already bringing them forward from the past. So
Okay,
you're
so,
bringing them to the past while they're a
Mhm.
child. You address whatever they complained or generalize. Okay, the simplest thing, when you don't even know, when you're doing pre-recorded thing, you bring them back into early childhood or even to the time of birth. Okay, now you're just new human being, your soul coming into this world. But now you are surrounded by the team that you can pick for yourself. Could be different parents or the same parents, but now they're super attentive and able to give you what you need. And then you guide them forward. It's as though you're walking through the same life scenario, but now you have the people who care for you, love you, attentive, protective, creating comfort, teaching you everything that you really needed to learn on that journey, providing you the support that you need. You can be generic here with your wording. And then you can add, even though all experience seems the same, but now you can see them in positive light, more colorful, more joyful, filled with more happiness. Maybe now you notice the good things that you haven't noticed before. Or maybe on this journey, as you having second chance to redo it, you can redo it in a way you would like it to happen. So here, you don't even need to know what are their issues. Their mind will apply it to whatever is necessary. And then you can add just a couple of sentences. Now, you have that skill of being fully present in every moment, in every experience. So now you're so deeply absorbed into experience, you can appreciate all the beauty, all the joy it gives you in tiny detail, in every shade possible, in every flavor. So you don't miss out on anything. You get a chance to absorb all the joy, experience all the happiness every moment could bring you. Very generic, right?
Practicing with the weight gain, I just was like kind of playing with different session structures, and I didn't know how to go about that. So it's something I need to keep playing with. But I found that very interesting that like I got caught up there. Like, I started obviously with like the pre-talk, then I was trying to do parts therapy, adding homework stuff. How could I do additional audio to support them? Obviously, we would need to address like diet and exercise. So yeah,
Start
again,
with
I organizing.
soothing the nerves, especially prior to meals. Mindful eating, that's good supplemental audio. Listen to this before each meal.
I think
Should be
it's
the first step. Then managing the mental emotional state, managing emotions in general, and next step would be dig for, you can do part therapy. What do you get from restricting meals, restricting the list of items that people eat? What do you get from it? What do you protect her from? Then you take it from there. What does it give you, that part?
I was gonna say just even like the conversations we've had, You talking about like looking at food differently, instead of just looking at it as I have to eat, look at it as like nourishing my body. Those kind of things were helpful for me. I definitely noticed in the groups I'm in, like you mentioned, the stress, that seems to be a big thing that gets people where they don't have an appetite. So, like you said, addressing the nervous system, calming that down so that they can even be open to implementing these changes and things like that. So that makes, like, when you're saying that, I'm like, that makes sense to start there and why I kept getting caught up on stuff.
For each person, also it seems like same issue, but it's different what it's made of, this issue. Aversion to specific foods, you can use anchoring, anchor collapse, replace. Do they use it as a means of controlling? Little children use it very often, but then it just sticks, and when people grow up, they don't even know why they're doing it. Fear of unknown, maybe this is why they refuse to expand the array of foods they eat. Then you just create additional scenarios. They already done it many times. And then you can install cravings for food. Simply enjoy the things, crave the things.
Well, I was going to say, when you had talked to Maruta one day about like the eating, and you mentioned like nourishing, what are you not nourishing in your life, like in other areas, that was a different perspective on the nourishing, but also very eye-opening. And then I also was forcing myself to eat things that my body didn't want, because I'm telling myself they're healthy and they're going to help do these things, but not listening to like the body and the adverse effects. Like you're saying, it could be 10 people that all are struggling with weight gain, but they could have 10 different reasons why they're struggling. But like the stress could play a part in all 10 of them. But again, there's different reasons why they're responding that way, or how they're handling it. Yeah, now I'm more excited to play with
Can
it.
be feeling lacking control in life in general, in relationships, with finances, work, whatever. But then how do I regain that sense of control? I'm going to control what I can. Obsessive compulsive disorder or food restriction. This is the only part I can control. I will, to the highest degrees. As much as I can, I'll show you how to control things.
Thank you.
Little by little, introducing new foods. Steps. That's how our kids are taught to eat. You don't have to even put it into mouth, you touch your lip. So step by step. Then you have to at least touch it with your tongue and smell it. Then you need to take one bite. You don't have to swallow it, you can spit it out, but you hold it for a little bit. Then eventually they'll swallow, increase the amount of bites. And that gradual increase of amount they eat, if they never ate this food, those are already grown person, they probably don't even have ferments in the body produced to digest it. So it has to be gradual. Like, okay, I'm going to force myself eat this bowl of whatever new food I've never touched. Of course, person's gonna get sick and will never touch it. Well, I've dealt with this new stuff. I will never touch anything new. Gradual is very important. And you can embed all of those things in hypnosis. From now on, you'll feel comfortable, curious about exploring new things, remembering to be gentle, and do it in a very gradual manner. With weight gain, when you get requests, see what's going on with health. If the person has bulimia, they need to be medically treated. It's already can be out of our scope. And then the death rate is so high, things happen so fast. If you got them and think you can help, you can to some degree, but the time is so important here. They could have go get medical treatment. They miss this few weeks. They may just die. Happen so fast, so fast. So be very careful. Make sure that it is within our scope. That they don't have those things. Vegetarians, is it a beginning stage that you can still help them? Or it's their health already deteriorated to the degree they're not savable. Very, very, very high death rate
Well, you
among
bring up
vegetarians.
a good point when you were talking about the weight loss. And again, I'm in like some weight gaining groups, excuse me, weight gain, not weight loss. That's a huge part of the weight gain problem. People automatically assume that people have bulimia or some kind of eating
Because
disorder.
it's so scary, then they're gonna be sued. Who would want to take that
No,
risk?
no, I'm talking about from a client's perspective. Like I've personally dealt with it, and then you see that's half the comments. It's I'm struggling, I'm eating, I'm doing this, but I'm not gaining the weight. The other part of it is being put in social settings where people are assuming that you're bulimic. People are assuming that you have an eating disorder when you don't. Like again, it's not coming from a medical professional, but that could maybe be we were talking about today, the reframing part of it, finding a way to look at it differently, how to deal with that in the social settings, because that, like for me personally, played a huge factor in like how I viewed myself. You know, it made me not want to go eat with people because people are always commenting. People make comments at parties, things like that. So
there are also, that affects too, even in professional field, people assume, well, sick, drug addict, bulimic.
I literally worked in a workplace where the people went and told the manager that they thought I was bulimic because they said every day after lunch I was going in the bathroom and throwing up my food, which was not correct. At the time, I wasn't aware of workplace harassment. Hindsight, I should have sued the shit out of them, but I ended up leaving that job over that because of how the boss handled that. And it just was a little drama cesspool. But, you know, here again, you're in a professional setting going to work. I'm definitely not throwing up every day. I had really bad period cramps that would make me nauseous. So, you know, occasionally I would, but yeah, they all got together that they were concerned about me and believed that that's what I was doing. You know, you, like I said, you go to eat and, oh my God, you're going to actually eat all that? Or, oh, you should be eating more. And it got to the point where like,
Everybody's the expert.
well, and I would flip it around. Would it be okay for me to make a comment like that to you? That are you really going to eat all of that on your plate? Maybe you should take some off of your plate. It's not okay for me to say that to a heavier or a fat woman, but it's totally, people think it's okay to say that to somebody that's skinny. Like we shouldn't have a problem with it. You should be happy that you're skinny, but there's a difference between being thin and skinny and being underweight and not healthy, you know? But yeah, you just made me think of that. Like that's an area to kind of address. Because like I wouldn't do weight loss because I think that's ridiculous for me to sit there in front of someone trying to lose weight with me having the opposite. But I can relate to somebody trying to put on weight, you know?
Well, getting out of our scope again, sign of neuroticism, neurotic people who are having too much anxiety, their metabolic rate is faster. Any techniques, practices to soothe, self-soothe, relax would be helpful. And also even that little things, people who are experiencing more stress, more sensitive to stress, nervous, have anxiety, they tend to fidget, right?
Yeah.
Notice everyone who fidgets usually slim or is skinny.
Yeah.
Notice in your surroundings. So catching yourself when you're about to fidget and use relaxation techniques, some sort of self-soothing practices in that moment. How many times that happening through the day so you can manage that neuroticism.
No, thank you. I appreciate that because
So-
I just usually associate stress, cortisol, you gain weight. And like I notice I will literally lose 3-4 pounds in a day and I'm eating well and all of that. But I like you just made me look on it on a deeper level because I do know, you know, there's something going on with the system. And it's funny, my dad's thin, my brother's thin, and we're all like that, very fidgety, have, you know, anxiety. Like you're talking about this like neurotic personality.
Mhm.
So thank you
Even
for
grounding can help. If you do it quickly a few times per day, to some degree it will help. And here we can play with energies. What is thin person? Too much air. We need ground. We need bring earth element. The habits and behavioral patterns of air people whose air are out of balance cannot sit still usually, cannot focus for long time. So doing the opposite, You have all the tools to help yourself do this. And eating by the clock, because there's not a lot of reserves in the body. Not a lot. If you're missing a meal, if you're not taking enough calories or a digestive problem, so it just passes through, know that you need to constantly refuel your body because there is not a lot of reserve. If I skipped a meal, nobody will notice that. If you already don't have anything, it affects you so much more if there is no reserve. Now all your muscles are drained because body will eat you. By the clock, every 2.5, 3 hours, you're supposed to eat. Within half an hour after awakening. Fasting is not for you. Even people say it's so healthy, intermittent fast. No, it's not healthy. Within half an hour upon awakening, and then every 2.5, 3 hours, every meal has to have hot food. Hot food. Every meal has to have animal protein and fat. Every meal has to include some sort of veg or green and complex carbs, some good grains. If you're not doing very well with gluten, buckwheat. Beans are so hard to digest, or not all people. See, if you already have weight problems, you probably don't do well with digesting beans and all the legumes. They're very hard to digest. But maybe tiny portions of it you can include in your regular meals.
I noticed when I'm not stressed, or again, like you're talking about the feeling more grounded and balanced in life, I can pretty much eat anything and my stomach's fine. But yeah, when I'm nervous, I've got a lot going on. The littlest thing, yeah, it upsets my stomach. Then yeah, it takes hours to digest something. Kind of add these little tips just so you can see.
Also, about half a cup of hot water, just sitting before meal, sitting down, sipping it, you calm down, you soothe yourself, and then maybe a few minutes later you can eat. That's helpful too.
I've been doing that for years with you.
Zolia, could I ask, is that what you meant when earlier you said about people who are vegetarian almost dead, or bulimics almost dead, is that they don't have reserves in case if they don't eat?
When did I say they're almost dead? I say dead. I don't remember. It's not something that I would say.
I thought you said, that's why I'm asking.
High death rate.
Oh, for bulimia, I think because you said people are.
And for vegetarians too, who already, whose health already deteriorating, they cannot. Not everyone can reverse it. Lots of people die from vegetarian diet. First, it seems like, they get euphoric because body's detoxing, relaxing. It seems like they're feeling better. And after that, so reserves are gone, brain doesn't get any food. And brain, the first part starts deteriorating, brain. So thinking already is altered. And then this dangerous cycle starts. Well, I'm not feeling good. I need to detox more. Now I'm going to get off, eggs. Next, all the dairy. Next, gluten. They think now that they're feeling worse and worse and worse, they need to detox more. So the thinking is already altered. And there are usually those parts of some forums or groups or cults where it's constant brainwashing going on. Yes, it's like people wanted you to die. Meat industry is all poisoned. This is all bad. If you want to be spiritual, if you want to get enlightenment, you need to stop eating those things. Nobody's talking about how dangerous it is.
No, and I shared that's pretty much what happened to me. I had gotten sick and I thought, oh, I better eat cleaner and, I'm going to alleviate this out of my diet. And I was forcing myself to eat things that my body didn't like. And I've been basically trying to play catch up for the last 2 years, and balance it out. So not always good.
Vegetarian and vegan diet, then the brain function dies. It happened really fast. So by that time, they already don't even understand what's happening. Maybe they could have stopped. They start nourishing themselves, go get help, it would be good. But thinking already is altered. They already don't understand what's happening. And then they get so aggressive towards people that are around them and try to help them. I think I was telling the story. Across from me, there is a cottage. Now other people live there. The woman died. She was vegetarian. Her mother would come visit. Well, first both parents, but then her father had a heart attack after she was hospitalized. One of the times he died. So mother would come and she would fight. Her mother bring like chicken broth, let's eat. Then I called social services a few times. She already couldn't, so poops wouldn't hold. The constant diarrhea, body's deteriorating. She couldn't leave the house. I went there, tried to feed her. Sometimes she would let me, but sometimes it's like almost animal already. She was an engineer. She had a good career. After that, she decided to become spiritual. With yoga, I believe it started for her. And then it got so bad she already didn't understand anything. She broke, she hit something with something her mother. I had to call emergency. Her skull was bleeding because mother brought chicken broth to feed her. So she was hospitalized over and over. And, from my second floor in my bedroom window, it goes right into that cottage. I could observe things. Police, social services, mother sitting crying there. It's so hard to watch. You couldn't have a normal conversation. Should start screaming, you all want me to die, you're going to poison, you don't understand what they do with those chickens, it's unedible, you shouldn't eat eggs, on and on and on and on. So at some point, so I went there, I saw mother sitting on a road crying. So I went and she says, Guzala, my only wish for my daughter to die now while I'm alive so I can bury her in dignity. I don't want people to find her in her shit because constant diarrhea. She eats some fruits or juice. It doesn't hold on. After a while, it doesn't stay in. You have to eat meat. And she'd sleep in it because she didn't have enough energy to clean herself. It's awful. It's awful what people do themselves. If she would have those bodily symptoms early enough while her brain was still intact, maybe she could stop that. But she already couldn't think by that time. It's horrible, and everybody's affected. We say that about alcoholics and addicts, but it's just as dangerous. Just as dangerous. I think I shared it in our Facebook group at some point. Young guy was sharing his journey from Europe. I think it's Switzerland or something. He speaks English. He joined one of those forums. He listened how food is all full of hormones and pesticides, how one shouldn't be eating it. And he, now looking back, said the progression was so fast and you really believe in all those things. And then instead of understanding my body's suffering because I'm not nourishing, he said, I need to get off more of food. At some point, his mother wanted to hospitalize him. He went to Bali because their fruits cheap. He could juice for little money that he had. So, and your body's hungry all the time. You're hungry, and all life now wraps around this. You can't do it, you can't work, you're not interested in look, what else can I eat? But because you don't eat the right things, your body actually doesn't get any nourishment, you're always hungry. So whole life is now wrapped around it. And he was saying when he was arrested there for something, there's a long story. And when he already came back, he said, He had to take a bus from airport and he couldn't hold his shit in. So he had to get off and walk, and he said he didn't have energy talks and realizing that it's just, flowing out. Then he's like 20 something. This is took a long time for him to realize actually that it's not the way to live. And then he got help and started eating again. And he said, I'm looking back, I didn't understand that while it was happening. I thought everybody's after me and I'm getting healthier. And if I feel bad, that's because I'm eating too much. Maybe I'll find him. I'll share it again. It was interesting how he explained. Yes, at the moment, I thought I'm doing the right thing. 100% convinced. He's not dumb, not crazy, smart guy. So who's having steak today?
I'm hungry for lunch. That's all I can say. All this talk about food, I gotta go eat.
Eating dairy in evening will help you to put on weight. It's not the healthiest thing for people who have normal weight. Things like cottages, a bit of cheese, some warm milk, it changes hormones. So before bed, it changes hormones that will induce weight gain. When people go into remission after cancer treatments, for their survival, they need to put weight. Otherwise, they're just not going to live. Dairy, and especially in evening, this is what they do. 2 gallons of milk per day. And we think this is so dangerous, it's gonna cause cancer, it's mucousy, inflammatory, but if it's a matter of survival, I mean, what's the goal? Right now, what is the priority? And in some situation, calorie is a calorie, doesn't really matter it matters how much you eat, it matters less what you eat. My son, so there is something in the brain. It's actually more common than I could imagine. Something in the brain in children happening, they're not registering hunger, therefore they're never hungry. They grow out of it. There is no medical treatment, it's just something's off, and as they grow, it goes away on its own. So my son was like this. We were doing few months feeding clinic in Mount Washington Hospital. I was there full day for 6 months, observing all sorts of things. So that's where doctors explained when it's that bad and people don't eat anything, any calorie, even if it comes from unhealthy things, it's still better than not enough calories. And then texture too changes. People can consume a lot more of smooth ground food, like in the form of smoothies, puree, soup purees, easier to digest than raw and chopped up food. So if you have problems with digestions, make it soft, smooth, like soft soups, broth. I think smoothies are phenomenal because imagine all these fruits and veggies, it would be like this, but then you can make a smoothie like this. Huge difference. And you have to make sure that you eat like in a matter of 15-20 minutes, because after that brain already registers I'm not hungry anymore. So most of your calorie intake that you need to do it fast. No like long aperitifs, because as soon as something fell into the stomach it registers, and in I think 18 minutes it says that's enough. If you have appetite problem, you need to be aware of this. It's also very important to expand the array of foods, different foods you need to eat, because it's not just nutrition or calories, it's also sensory experience. If your regimen of food is very limited, you are sensory depriving yourself, which will affect your intelligence level too. You limiting your joy.
everyone in my life, we joke I eat like a 12-year-old little girl. Like I like a lot of plain stuff. I repeat the same meals I eat. I'm extremely picky. You know, I have a hard time when I go to restaurants with people because I call it foo-foo food. And when we were in Hawaii, my cousin's wife, you know, oh, do you want to split this burger? And I'm thinking, okay, yeah. I had some weird chili sauce, which, you know, automatically makes me think I don't want it. And I still, like, that was over a month ago, and I can still taste it in my mouth. I'm like, that is the best burger I have ever had. And it had a weird purple, like, sauce on it, just things I would normally never even entertain. And I made comments to a few people, like, I feel like I've been shorting myself in life, like not trying
Yes.
food. And it was the best burger I ever had. And burgers are one of my favorite things to eat, you know, so there is something to that there. If
And,
I felt more alive eating this, you know, foo-foo food.
and you know how you do anything, this is how you do everything. Where else you're limiting yourself? Where else you're not
Lots of
aligned?
areas.
You see the same way. Verse has lots of resources to offer, but then you decided, no, I need only that little.
When I even went into that, you know, whole trip with like, oh, I want to try things I haven't. The acai bowls, like the fruits bowls, I had tried one of those for the first time. It was the most delicious thing, and I've made one almost every day since I've gotten home. I normally don't eat granola. I've been throwing granola in there, and it's delicious. And I do feel like more alive when I eat it. You know, not only because I'm eating something that's like good and fresh, but it's
New
new to the palate.
experience.
Yeah.
New
So
experience. So this is very, very important. Very important. Funny how life works. So I had to go through this stuff with my own child, but then I had two employees, teenage girls, who had problems with eating. They would eat like little children, macaroni and pizza. This is what they grew up and they didn't know any other food and wouldn't eat anything. Both were underweight. I did everything that I had to do with my child. It was funny, at some point he even came with me there, gave them a lecture how it's important to eat enough. We had kitchens there. It was always stocked, but sometimes I had to cook something spared, like Russian. They never had anything like this. Of course, I'll bring to share. And because they already have problems, it's harder for them to even try. People that don't have problems, they're curious, they want to try something new. But those girls had problems. So I'd sit them on the chairs, put trash containers right next to them. You take one bite, you don't have to swallow, just tiny little bite. Hold it in the mouth. If you don't like it, if it doesn't go through, just spit it out. That gag sometimes. But after a while, they ate all sorts of things with me. Gradual process. You go to restaurant, Melanie, from everyone's plate, you should taste something. Just put it into mouth. If it doesn't go through, put it into napkin.
I do make a point when people offer, you know, I will say, yeah, if you don't mind, I will try it. I'm trying to try new things. But yeah, there's still some stuff where I'm like, you know, spicy. I know I can't do spicy stuff. I'm not going to eat chilies and peppers. You know, I'm not there yet. But there was a time where I wouldn't eat tomatoes and avocados. And now one of my favorite things is avocado toast. But I did grow
Spicy,
up off McDonald's.
bitter food, not, it's, well, what considered bitter, it's not always bitter. A little bit spicy. Some herbs have this bitterness, herbal taste. They're all stimulating appetite.
I feel like it's
Too much.
yeah, it's like harsh for me. Like, but you know, there's some stuff that I eat that I wouldn't have eaten years ago. But like, I cook with pepper, but if I actually taste pepper, it's too much for me. You know, where some people want to taste the pepper on their food. But you know, also back to, it just depends on what state I'm in. If I'm in a good mood and you know my digestive system's fine, I can pretty much eat anything. Other times, you know, I have to have soup or smoothie, like you said. That's all I want is soup. You know, chicken noodle soup or something, or grilled cheese. Like that's all I feel like I can eat. But I want to try to apply what you were talking about with just like the nervous system and being grounded and being mindful of that. Like I guess on a deeper level.
And also view food, it's not just a food, it's experiences and it's resources in general. from life, from earth, from the universe. I'm not hungry for this. Am I even hungry for life? You can reframe it this way. That's how I do sometimes with clients. Are you hungry for anything at all? Or are you just checking out from life?
What you had said to Maruta in one of our sessions about the nourishing yourself, feeling nourished in life, that's stuck with me. It's something I've been, kind of thinking of being mindful of when I'm eating food. Like, what is it that I'm trying to nourish? Picking more nourishing type meals and imagining that I'm trying to, I guess, fulfill something within that needs to be nourished in a more like healthier way, being more conscious of it. So I was glad you brought that up to her.
Our food that we eat is very much connected to our income. Did you know that? You should not just eat any food. Your food has to be so good. You should smile while you eat. It's like celebration of life. What else you've got for me? I want all of it. Give me more. I really love it. Do you see? You view your food differently and your income grows. That's from Venus. That's how to activate Venus. Enjoy food. Simplest form of magic.